New studies out, and the implications of the study are incredibly shocking, and particularly so for women. This is something that I was reading through and was really just blown away by how much of a problem this is. And so this came out in the Journal of Obesity, and it's entitled 10-Year Weight Gain in 13,802 U.S. adults, the role of age, sex, and race. And what they go on to show is, again, 2017, 2018 data, 42% of Americans are obese. This is an absolutely horrifying statistic. That number has undoubtedly gotten worse. So more than 42%. We're probably close to probably 50%, or we will be very shortly, certainly by 2030. That's a projection. And it's not hard to see. You go, I was at the grocery store yesterday, and it was just like, everybody's friggin' fat. What the hell is going on? Everybody's soft, they're fat. If they're not fat, they're skinny fat, they're frail. I mean, there's literally no people left that are actually healthy. It is really, really sad to see. The article in this introduction goes on to talk about obesity is associated with coronary heart disease, cancer, diabetes, insulin resistance, osteoarthritis, hypertension, and premature mortality. And despite all these quote-unquote fat doctors telling you, oh, it's okay to be obese, there's no evidence that obesity is a problem, and you can be healthy at any size, that's all bullshit. We need to quit pandering to that. So the interesting things that I saw, one of the most interesting statistics was that unequivocally, who's getting obese and when are they getting obese? So the first thing we need to see is that most people are putting on most of the weight in their 20s and 30s. This is where most of the weight gain is occurring. This is 10-year weight gain data for the last 10 years. Everybody, for the most part, puts on all that weight at a young age. So the 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds are just packing on the pounds. They talked about weighing people, and they had some people, the people that were over 200 kilograms or over 440 pounds, interestingly enough, they had to use two scales where you stood on, 1 foot on one scale and 1 foot on the other, and that's how they determine weight, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing they had to do. They didn't have the supersized scales apparently, which is sad to think that you've got people walking around sort of at 440 plus pounds. We know we do. The other thing that stood out to me, which was really, really sort of interesting to see, was with not even close, women were gaining far more weight than men. Not even just relative weight, relative weight per body size, but even in absolute weight, they were gaining twice as much weight as men, twice as many pounds as men have in the last 10 years. This is an alarming, and I think people like, Lizzo and these other people that are all at this body positivity movement is probably, sort of helping to sort of propel that. I'm going to be a queen and just, queen bee and just be fat as a house and have everybody take care of me type of thing, or bow to me or tell me I'm beautiful. Perhaps some of that mentality is going on, particularly in these younger folks, which we're seeing this in. And then the other thing is, we see different racial disparities in who's gaining weight by in large. The group that gains the most weight were some of the minority populations, blacks, Hispanics, followed by whites, and then the least likely group to gain weight were Asians. And it was even worse among women. The disparities were worse among women, with black women gaining the most weight across the board, unfortunately. It's a very, very sad thing to see. When they talk about, why were women gaining more weight, one was pregnancy. Multiparous women who've had multiple pregnancies, on average, accumulate about an extra kilo per child. And so if you have 5 kids, you're going to be 5 extra kilos of 10 pounds heavier on average with that. But that doesn't account for anywhere near to the majority of the weight. Interestingly, they note that women, by and large, are far less active than men. That's just the way it is. They just don't do as much for some reason. Overall, the stats are shocking, with, in some cases, as much as 60% of the people don't do anything. They do no even moderate activity throughout the week. They just are completely sedentary. I couldn't even fathom that, constantly just sitting there doing nothing. Of course, poverty plays a role here. Like any other study we see, those with lower education levels worse socioeconomic class were disproportionately affected. So this is something that is, I mean, we know how bad it is. It's very interesting to see it affecting women in such a high rate. This is something we just have to address. We have to do something about it. I think some of the biggest things we can do are to encourage people to eat more protein. Again, protein in the diet, particularly in the forms of animal products like meat, are going to significantly help with satiety, with appetite, and body composition. Study after study after study after study shows that higher protein diets result in better body composition, better satiety, less weight gain, less obesity, better outcomes. This is something we have to continue to push. If you're a woman and you're afraid to eat meat, it's ridiculous, and you need to tell your children. If you're a lot of people watch this YouTube channel are a little bit older, than the normal demographic, 50, 60. Tell your kids, my God, get on a higher protein diet, start eating more meat, and then exercise. Get in there and do stuff. Okay, it's as simple as that. Let me know what you think. When did you gain most of your weight? For you guys that have done that, and the reason it's interesting when they talk about why aren't people in the older groups gaining much weight, because most of them have already gained a lot of weight, and it's harder. The bigger you get, the higher your metabolic rate is, the more food you need to maintain to maintain that weight. And so to gain more weight if you're already significantly obese is pretty hard. Now there are people that clearly do it, but they have to continuously, constantly be eating. And so it's something that is an interesting phenomenon. In fact, what we see is in later times, the rate of weight gain in women 50, 60, 70 goes down dramatically, and in men it actually starts to decline. Some of that they attribute to, unfortunately, to sarcopenia, just wasting away at that point. So, it's health, in my view, and you feel free to disagree with me or not, but lean mass function play a huge role in that. And the formula for that is pretty simple. You got to eat right, and when I say eat right, I think it requires high quality protein as a super important priority for a number of reasons, like we talked about a little bit earlier, and then also do some strength training. Simple as that. And stay on top of your cardiovascular stuff. You can just do it with walking. But my God, we are one of the largest economies. No, we are the largest economy in the world at this point. China may be soon to pass us, but that's besides the point. But with that amount of resource we have, we should be a nation of warriors. We should be a nation of strong, fit, robust, can-do, productive, positive, happy people. Instead, we are a nation of, doughboys and pillow people, that are sad and depressed and angry all the time. Let's change this, guys. You can start with this channel. I want everybody that watches me to dedicate themselves to not being part of that and to affect other people. Share this information with other people. I'm going to link this study down below. You guys have a great morning. I'm going to eat some steak and get after a workout. We'll talk to you soon.